I'm Peter John Ross, a filmmaker from Columbus, Ohio. Over 10 years ago, this guy started harassing me online and he never stopped fixating on me. I decided to turn it into a documentary. I've been working on Social Media Monster for the past few years. The series of events are unfolding in real time as I've filed criminal charges against the guy, a civil stalking protection order, and things are just getting crazier. These are just behind-the-scenes updates to let everybody know what's going on with the film. I scheduled a screening in Columbus, Ohio, my own hometown. I had submitted to about 3 film festivals in Columbus, and I didn't get into any of them. Now, I'm not bitter about not getting into festivals because I've run several film festivals myself, and I understand that the reasons why a film gets, not selected could be anything. I found that learning to just accept criticism has changed how well you do at film festivals by being open to notes and ideas. A lot of people wanted to see Social Media Monster, whether because they're my friends or their peers, or there's just a lot of curiosity about all this stuff that's unfolding on social media. So I really just wanted to get it out there. I wrote a press release. I sent it to a lot of my friends and people in local media with TV news, print media, and web. And the responses I got were kind of shocking. It was shocking because they all already knew the subject of the film because he'd been harassing Columbus media for over a year. In some cases, lawyers were involved and police reports were filed. So nobody has any interest in writing about the screening of the film because they don't want to risk being harassed by this guy. On Twitter, I found an indie film review podcast where these guys will watch independent films and do reviews on their podcast. The backlog is about 6 months, so they said, well, if you give $5 donation, we'll fast track it. So I PayPal'd them $5.
This film that we watched this week is so compelling, but without even trying to be compelling, it is compelling because the story just it's the gift that keeps on giving, and you don't want it. You're like, please stop giving me gifts. It is easily one of the most compelling documentaries I've ever seen.
Okay, after I finished watching this film, I was like, all right, I'm going to go play Xenoblade 3. I'm going to go play some video games. I'm going to have a great time. I finished watching the documentary, and then I ended up just spending 2 hours researching this movie and the subject and everything about it. And I'm like, I guess all that time's gone. I guess I got to go to bed now. And then I just sat on my bed thinking about the film, and I'm just like, oh, great. Is this my life? I couldn't go to sleep.
Overall, it was a really good review. I mean, they clearly loved the movie. It impacted them. They thought about it a lot. And I just thought it was great. When I listened to this review, they clearly understood what the guy's like, and I thought for sure that they understood kind of what might happen.
The subject of the documentary, the troll, or alleged troll, let's say that.
Alleged troll.
Alleged troll.
Everything is going to be alleged because we don't want to be harassed either.
Allegedly, yes. And again, everything is ongoing in this, which is so nuts. This isn't something that happened 10 years ago. This is still happening right now. And it could happen to us.
Yeah. So that's why we're using the term allegedly.
Thank you, Peter, for bringing this up to us. I'm sure it'll only help us. I'm very excited. I'm just kidding.
They even state clearly that they might get trolled.
Thank you so much.
I hope we don't get trolled.
This is what I needed. Oh, you know what? If it happens,
we got trolled for $5.
You know what? It'll be our first troll, actually, because we have not had a troll. A lot of our audience is very nice. Either
yeah,
they.
But I just don't want to get a nuclear threat from this troll.
So I was really surprised when they yanked the review less than 24 hours after they posted it.
Peter John Ross submitted his film Social Media Monster to a Twitter account that does podcast film reviews, and so this is my review of their review.
They sent me a message on Instagram, which I don't use very often, and told me they're pulling the review, that the harassment was already way too much for them to handle and it wasn't worth it.
It became evident very quickly to me that, I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist, but this man, I think, is suffering from bipolar disorder.
I want to point out to that reviewer that when you sit there and you say that I have bipolar and I have mania, and you think that because you don't say my name, that's not libel per se by accusing someone of having a catastrophic health issue for which they don't have. That's absolute slander, buddy. So you might want to rethink your statements in what you're saying.
I am legally disabled. I have bipolar disorder. I'm told that I can't function in reality, or I'm not capable of being a part of society.
One of the only things they told me in the message was that Matthew had threatened to sue them. In the film and in reality, Matthew threatens to sue people all the time and has never filed a lawsuit against anyone, ever.
At first, I was listening to the podcast, the review of Social Media Monster, and I thought it was kind of fun. They made it kind of interesting, and it was neat, and they gave thoughtful opinions.
So I thought there might be something else to this. One of the reviewers had said that he wanted to show the documentary to his film students, and I think that in particular really set Matthew off.
Dude, I want to show this to my film students because it says a lot about media. The documentary exposes how easy it is for radicalized people to manipulate media to their doing.
Lo and behold, in the middle of the night, Matthew had made this audio clip.
Tell me how I should handle it, guys. Podcast guys. You tell me, what is the solution here? And then this guy says, well, I teach a class. Where do you teach at? Where do you teach at? Tell me where you teach at. Tell me how I should respond to this.
I always find it ironic that Matthew's defense against the accusations in the documentary that he does not troll, harass, dox people, and try to get them fired by harassing, trolling, doxing, and then trying to get people fired. It never made any sense to me how reenacting how he behaves in the movie as a defense to say he doesn't act like that.
I'll give the guys fucking $100 right now, the only money I got to my name, just to fucking do an interview with me and ask me questions.
How do I feel about these guys yanking their film review in less than 24 hours? I have very mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, totally understandable. Completely understandable. Nobody wants to be doxxed and have their employers kind of saying he's supporting racism. So that's totally understandable if they want to yank it. On the other hand, giving him what he wants, that's empowering him. It's making it seem like it's okay to terrorize people. Because if it worked once, he's going to keep doing it. And it's worked a lot more than once. By letting him bully you, it's giving him a license to let him bully anyone. And it's why he keeps doing it.
And for me to be able to look at them, or not look at them, but talk to them man to man. And honestly, I would have kept listening to it, but it just makes me... I'm faking being a victim. Do you know what I've been through?
He's going to continue to terrorize other people. He's going to keep doing this. That's the part that makes me angry. So I'm not angry at these reviewers or anybody else. The problem is no one is standing up to this bully. No one is stopping him. And it's just getting worse. The whole idea of, I'm going to find out where you teach and I'm going to get you fired for calling you a racist if you don't delete your review, there's a word for that. It's called extortion, not to be confused with blackmail. Blackmail means money. Extortion means anything of value. You do X or I'll do Y. And it's a felony. And no one's putting his feet to the fire for this kind of thing.
I think this film was very well made.
Very, yes.
And the editing really keeps you going. Like the film doesn't really sit or stop on one scene or one particular piece. Like there's no long monologues really. It's really just going to try to keep your attention. So it's very slick in that way. I enjoyed it.
I will not stop making this film. I will not stop promoting this film. I think standing up to Matthew Burdick and his bullying is very important. I think it brings up far more substantial issues than this one guy. I think that cyber crimes need to be taken more seriously. I think that mental health needs to be taken more seriously. I'm hoping that if there is some change, it might lead to Matthew getting help that he desperately needs. And I feel it's worth it to fight for this, to fight for the film and what the film stands for. And I'm never going to quit.
What made this film awesome was the alleged troll. Like, we didn't have to coax any of this information out of him. He puts it all on YouTube himself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just know that. Like, you will find this to be very fascinating if you haven't watched it yet. All right, anyway.
I wanna just plug this social media monster again, because if you're interested, because this is ongoing, so there's gonna be updates,
Yes.
and Peter is gonna make. It looks like he's working on a series about trolls and like doing like a mini docu-series on it, which I think is excellent. You know, highlight these people. This is fantastic.